Hey, Amy from the blog, ablossomyourlife.com, and today I want to share with you how to make these really simple salt dough ornaments. There's a million ways to make them, and you can pretty much create them exactly how you want. You can paint them, you can add glitter, you can pretty much do anything, whatever your imagination has. So one of the reasons I love these is because everyone in the family can do them. They're super simple to make, and pretty much you can be as creative as you want. And they're really, really cheap. I wanted to get some new ornaments for our tree, but I didn't want to spend money. I'm really cheap when it comes to pretty much everything, but especially Christmas, because it only comes out once a year. I don't want to waste money on something that I only use for a month and a half, and so I try to create as much as I possibly can during that time. We haven't decorated our tree completely yet. We're gonna do that tonight. So let's get started in making this really simple tutorial. All you really need to make these salt dough ornaments is flour, salt, and water. So for the flour, I just use the same flour that I use for my bread baking, and this is just an organic all-purpose flour, but really any all-purpose flour will do. Salt, and you want to make sure to just use a nice white salt. Honestly, this is pickling salt because that's what I had on hand. I had a lot of it, but white sea salt will be fine, or iodized salt is also fine, and then just plain water. You also need some cookie cutters and a rolling pin, and a little bit of extra flour to dust the surface to roll it out. So these are not gluten-free, and even though we do have someone that is gluten-free in our family, as long as I told her not to eat them and we washed our hands right after, she was totally fine. Now if you have something like celiac, you'll want to find a gluten-free recipe. I'm just going to add my salt to my flour. This is 3 cups of flour, and I'm going to add 1.5 cups of salt. And then we're going to add about 1.5 cups of water. So it may change a little bit, so I like to start off with about a cup, a cup and a quarter, and then we're going to mix it up. And then if it's not enough, I'll add a little bit more. And you're going to try to form it into a ball. You could definitely do this in the stand mixer too. If it's a little dry, just add a little bit of water. You'd rather add a little bit of water at a time than add too much water. And then you have a soggy dough. Okay, so once it starts to turn into a nice ball of dough, you're just going to dust the countertop with a little bit of flour, and we're going to roll it out. Right, now I'm just going to roll this out until it's about 1/4 inch thick, kind of like you're making cookies, like you're making sugar cookies for Christmas. We just want it to be 1/4 inch thick, because that way it'll still be sturdy enough and it will dry faster than, say, the thicker ones are going to take a lot longer to dry. Alright, now that I have it about rolled out to exactly where I want it, I just like to go over a little bit just to smooth it out, so that way they're really nice and smooth. And there's no big lumps or chunks or waves in it. So there's a couple ways that you can do this. You do not have to bake these. You can let them air dry for about 5 to 7 days. It does take quite a long time to let them air dry. Or if you're impatient like I am, you can just bake them at a 200-degree oven for a couple hours until they're dry. The times will just vary depending on how thick they are. So I just like to test them every so often, make sure they're not burning, which they shouldn't because it's such a low temperature, but just to make sure that they're not getting too brown or anything like that. They should stay about the same color. So I'm just going to take my cookie cutter and I'm going to start cutting them out and then laying them on a cookie sheet. And then what I like to do in order to get the nice hole is I'm going to use a stainless steel straw, and you can put it in there. I'm going to do it here, or just leave it in here, but you're going to use this and then you kind of wiggle it around and make sure that the center comes out. This has been my favorite way of making the holes for to be able to hang the ornaments. And you shoot it out. And then these can just go on a parchment lined baking sheet, and I like to do the parchment line just to make sure it doesn't stick, and it also just makes it come off a little bit easier. So you can make these any shape you want. You can also, say if you want to make a picture framed one, you could cut a shape out that you like, and then cut out another shape of a circle, that way it has a hole enough to make for a picture. And if it does get a little bit too squished from making the hole, you can just tap it with your fingers to make it go back. For the gingerbread, instead of just doing one hole to hang it, I'm going to actually do 2 holes for the eyes and then just use one of the holes to hang the ornament. These are so fun because you can totally decorate them however you want. You can also paint them, add so much glitter. You can really make it and create whatever you want. And these would be really fun sentimental gifts. If, say, your kids were to make them, they can make them for family members, and then you can give them as gifts. Super fun. Totally mess that one up. And the best thing about these is they're super forgiving. So I could either pinch it to the top to make it fit in, which I think looks perfect, or I can just put it back in the dough and when I make a new ball and I roll it out again, I can just add it back. So when you run out of room, you can just do it again. You do want to make sure that when you put them on the cookie sheet that they are laying nice and flat, because any curve that they have in them will bake that way, and so they won't be perfectly flat. Now that I'm completely done cutting them out and adding holes to them, I'm going to bake them in a 200 degree oven for a couple hours until they feel pretty much dry. Before we want to paint them or seal them or anything like that, you're going to want to make sure that they're completely dry. Now the reason why salt dough ornaments are so popular and they work so well is because the salt helps preserve them. It helps inhibit mold and bacteria and all that other stuff. And they last a really long time. So this could be a family heirloom that you keep around for a long time. If you're making them with your family, you can make fun ones each year if you wanted to. This just makes a really great, fun family thing to do together, to make some memories, create some ornaments. I'm gonna go bake these in the oven. I love how these plain ones turned out without painting them. I love the texture and the color that they really add to the Christmas tree, and hanging them with some twine or some ribbon can really add a festive touch. Now you can definitely paint these, add glitter, pretty much make these however you like. Thanks so much for stopping by my Blossoming Life YouTube channel. If you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I share 2 new videos every single week on natural living, simple recipes, and DIY projects. Make sure to like and share with your friends. If you do make some, make sure to tag me on Instagram and I will share them. And I hope you have a wonderful holiday.